And we're going to shift into our next presentation at the time. I think I saw the sister on. I don't know if she's on anymore. Wait, let me see. Oh, there she is. Peace, Sister Lisa Harris. How are you? Can we hear you?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Okay. Beautiful.
Great.
We can
How
hear
are
you.
you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm great.
Excellent. Welcome to the 2017 Black Sustainability Summit question and answer session. We've had a day full of rich and liberatory discussion and dialogue about Black sustainability in all kinds of different ways. And so we welcome you to that, and also want to thank you for your presentation.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. Really appreciated how you talked about, what health looks like underneath that your good health kind of surface level thing we get from doctors all the time, and women's health and stress, and went into the nitty gritty of stress and what it does to you. So with no further ado, I want to open up the floor to you. I'm going to give you privilege so you can share your screen if you like, or I can share some slides as you talk, and we'll take questions after a brief introduction.
Okay, so I can go through the slides?
Yes, if you would like.
Okay, sure.
You want to do it on your computer?
Or
you want me to do it on my computer?
You can do it on your computer.
Okay, got it. So if you could just start with a brief introduction, and I'll get that up.
Sure. My name is Lisa Harris. I'm a naturopathic doctor. I have a master's in professional counseling. I'm a certified wellness coach. I also do colon hydrotherapy and plant-based nutrition. I'm the author of the book, Rebuilding the Temple, A Practical Guide to Health and Wellness. I have a new book coming out in the summer. It focuses on the 5 pillars of wellness, the key to having a well-balanced life. I mostly work with women. I have the business Lady Babalu Fitness because I encourage fitness. Also ladies like us, because as Black women, we go through a lot. There's a lot that's going on. We are trying to do so many things, and there's so many stressors that we deal with. And oftentimes we are taught we wear many hats, which in reality, we wear one hat with many, many colors. So I try to help women to mesh those things together so that they can truly be whole and healthy.
Absolutely. Great. And so we'll open it up for questions now, and I'll just have the slides playing in the background as you want. Okay. Have your discussion. If there are no questions at this time, I will start with one. You talk about, some of the different stressors, and you talk about some of that stress and like how.
Excuse me, brother.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I was muted out, and I have a question I've got to ask because it seems like this sister's got it.
Go ahead.
I'm so sorry. Since you mentioned that, as a brother who is a long time, lifetime, and generational lover of Black women, it seemed that she gave some very key things about the big hat and many colors. What are some key things that we can look to, or some things you're suggesting that sisters can begin to do to help with all of those stresses that are kind of key and focused in on Black women specifically?
First is recognizing that we're not a disjointed people. We are taught in society, you're a wife, mother, you're a student, you're a employee, but we kind of are taught to separate those things. And so, oftentimes I'm going to leave work at home and home at home, work at work and home at home. But in reality, it's not possible, because whether you're thinking I'm leaving the issues of work at home, when you come home, it's in the back of your mind. So you may not verbalize it. They may not verbalize it, but their ways and their actions, someone's going to deal with the repercussions, and they may not even realize it. So the first thing I would say is begin to understand that we are many faceted. understand that we have to address those things instead of saying, yes, we're very strong, but that can be a crutch as well. Begin to understand that we have to address those issues. And with, those people who love us, those strong Black men who are there to say, what's going on, and not being ashamed to say, I'm struggling. Not being ashamed to say that I'm stressed. Work is stressing me out. I got so many things going on, because that's what happens. We begin to kind of compartmentalize, and it just does not work for us.
Excellent question. And that was.
Can I do a follow-up?
Yes, of course.
Let me get my seatbelt on here, because I'm here taking notes. What are some beginner suggestions that you have for from a naturopath standpoint, as well as you listed the counseling, some beginner things that can be done to make the home or somewhere so that a sister can detox from all of that? Or
from a naturopathic perspective, and I would say begin to eat right, healthy eating.
Okay.
One of our major issues is we begin to eat food that is not beneficial for our bodies. Because we're so busy, because there's stress, we tend to pull on those things that bring us relief. Oftentimes those are fatty foods, those are processed foods, those are foods that attack our body instead of heal our body. So the first thing I would say is take on a nice, healthy, whole food, whole plant diet to kind of get that body in balance. And then from a counseling perspective, I would say, what I encourage my clients to do is develop what I call a toolkit, a wellness toolkit, and put little things, like it could be a little pouch or a little bag or a little box. Put little things in there that bring you relief, such as if you like journaling, a little notebook. If you like certain scents, you can put a little bit of lavender in there. Something, those things that make your mind say, okay, it's going to be okay.
Maverick vigilante Tom Cruise must uncover the truth behind a government conspiracy to clear his name. It's time to go hunting in the action-packed thriller Jack Reacher. Available from Friday.
Did that answer your question?
Natalie Portman stars as the first lady whose courage seemed to embrace in the aftermath of her husband's assassination.
Yes, sister, you gave, I don't, that's not me, but you gave me some great ideas and some suggestions.
Great.
And I'm about to go buy a journal from right now, because it's so important as we're trying to work and deal with each other, to help each other with that. And sometimes as a brother, it's hard to cross that bridge a little bit to figure out what to do. And so this, what you just explained, give me the first steps. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Great.
Thank you for that. I just want to ask folks, if they're not speaking, to please mute their phones. Otherwise, you're going to force me everybody, and I don't know who wants to talk and who doesn't want to talk. So please keep your phones muted so we can the conversation that's going on. Okay, great. So my question was kind of similar to that, but I want to talk about some of the other things as well. You mentioned in your presentation some of the ways that you can use things like B12, B vitamins, et cetera, to kind of combat some of this too, in terms of nutritional. And it's kind of similar to what Brother Dirk was talking about. So can you kind of go into those kinds of things that you recommend that people are doing, the specific suggestions that you have for stress eliminating foods, and the specific ways you want women to be kind of taking care of themselves in that way?
Absolutely. First, I can't say enough how going back to basics, that is the main thing. We are taught that everything has to be having some kind of sauce, some kind of gravy, some kind of something on it. But we have to really go back to the beauty of food itself. Plant-based food, most of the time my clients, I put them on a plant-based, I don't want to say diet, but on a plant-based plan. And you begin to see how great these foods taste. A lot of people say, well, I don't like vegetables. So the key thing, buying organic vegetables. Go to your local market or your local farmer's market, buying local things, buying things that are in season, because that way the flavor is fresher. Food is transported in so many places. By the time it gets to us, it's lost a lot of its nutrients. And then once we cook it, it loses even more nutrients. So try to find the freshest food possible. And that's with all those foods, the B vitamins. There's so many foods that have different B vitamins. I know I focused on folic acid, but even in the thiamine, the niacin, all those Bs, we want to make sure we get that. And then also a good supplement. But I would first start with food.
Excellent. Excellent. And you talked about the pillars to optimal health. I don't know if I'm citing that correctly. Can you talk about those pillars and how people can kind of get into the daily habits and behaviors of incorporating those pillars into their health practice?
Yes. What I've coined is called the 5 pillars of wellness. And what we have, and this goes back to us feeling that everything is disjointed when our body has no fences. There's nothing separate. We have, first one is interpersonal relationships. That's anybody you encounter. You may go to the grocery store and the person at the register is having a bad day. That's transferred to you. You may not even realize it. Then you go to work and there's some issues at work. Then the second pillar is intimate relationships. That's whether you're married or you're dating. Those things, we all know that those things can cause a lot of issues within our lives. Then the third one is emotional well-being. And that's in the center because that is the balance. If your emotional well-being is off, all of those other things are going to be affected. And then the fourth one is health. Our health is so important. Our health is our wealth. If we are not healthy, we can't do anything. And then the fifth one is nutrition. And oftentimes people connect nutrition and health together. They are totally different. Nutrition is what we consume to help us maintain that health. Without proper nutrition, we're not going to have health. And so, as I said, if any of those pillars are off balance, then it affects. It's like a domino effect. You may be having marital issues. You begin to eat unhealthy, and then you start having health issues. Or you may be stressed on your job with the interpersonal, and then that affects your marriage, and then that affects your emotional well-being, and then that affects your health because stress affects our health, and then that affects your eating. So it's so intricate, it's so connected, and that's why we have to maintain a balance.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to continue to open it up for questions. You can either type your questions into the post area, into the chat area, ask them for you, or you can share them yourself. See if anyone else has any other question. Folks should be unmuted to ask now. I know I had a question around, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I keep doing it. I got to break myself off mute. And so I'm sorry about that, brother. But since the sister had made the mention about the better nutrition, taking that we're coming from stressful lifestyles and eating crap just because it's easy to get to the crap, what is some bridge even meals you could suggest or that you use to help people that could quickly have a good meal, but it's more wholesome, it's more nutritionally based? Are there some simplistic meal ideas or suggestions you can give to kind of put some things in place to kind of wean you away from what we're doing now?
Sure. Well, first of all, it's preparation. So when you go grocery shopping, you buy your produce, wash it, cut it up, and put it in containers so it's easy access. Because the one thing is time. So if we got to get it, go in the refrigerator, wash it, cut it, and then cook it, we may not have that much time. So have a prep day where you can prep. Another thing that I tell my clients is what's called the Chipotle method. And so you start with, you might have your brown rice on the bottom. And then if you eat meat, you might have a little bit of meat. And then you top that with your vegetables and a sauce or maybe some seasonings. So you may have, for instance, brown rice. You may add some kale to that. You may add some lean cut, farm raised, hormone-free beef on that. And then you may top that with some cashew gravy, which is going to give you protein as well. So that's a quick method. You can do that in a bowl. You can do that in a plate. You can make it like a stir fry. But it's just about the convenience of adding all those things. Preparation is your key.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. And we have another question. Go ahead.
Yeah, greetings. Do you have any suggestions for, as you're giving ideas and different types of approaches to obtaining the type of things we need, what type of suggestions would you have along the line of long-term preparation or crisis preparation?
Long-term preparation or crisis preparation?
Yes.
Long-term preparation, buy in bulk. I always encourage people to buy your dry goods, plenty of beans. If you do mushrooms, you get your dried mushrooms. Have yourself a storage area. I know in our home we have an area where it's just storage. So if there's nobody else eating, we're eating, because we live on land where we have lots of trees, so we can cut trees and make a fire. But get your bulk items together. And if it's beneficial to do a bulk club, I tell my clients, get you 2, 3, 4, 5 people and get a bulk club where you can buy these bulk items. You can buy dry goods. You can buy the dry rices and things like that. And then find a farmer in your area that does meat. And then you can get a large amount of meat if you eat meat and have them cut it, separate it, and put your money together. So it's economical as well, because a lot of things people say, oh, it costs too much to eat healthy. But when you begin to store and have those dry goods and then find a farmer who can provide those meats for you at a cost that you're sharing with a group of people, it becomes very beneficial.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for the questions. We had another question come in from Mama Nubantu, who asked about, can you talk a little bit about the books that you have written?
The first book I've written is called Rebuilding the Temple, A Practical Guide to Health and Wellness. And that book, it's on Amazon. You can get it on Amazon.com. And that book focuses on just overall wellness. It touches on different types of food that we eat. It tells us that our body is a temple. And once we begin to realize that, a temple is something beautiful, a temple is something ornate, and a temple is something that people take care of. It's not an afterthought. And so when we begin to see ourselves, our bodies as a temple, we begin to do the things necessary to keep that temple well. And so that's what that focuses on. It talks about different foods that we want to avoid. It talks about hidden ingredients, because there's some ingredients that are very strange. And when we realize it, we would first say, I would never eat that. But then when we look at it, at the labels of the food we're eating those very things we say we wouldn't eat. And the second book focuses on the actual 5 pillars. So it breaks that whole book up into the different pillars. It deals with the various things I mentioned earlier.
Gratitude for that and for going into that. I think that's definitely very helpful. I'm trying to take some notes into the chat section so folks can look there as well for some of these. What was the title of the first book? It's Rebuilding the Temple, A Practical Guide to Health and Wellness. Thank you. Excellent. Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Go ahead.
Hi, this is Hope. Hope Iraki again. Are there any superfoods, I don't want to say quote unquote superfoods, that we may not know about that you've discovered that may not be marketed here in America? For example, a lot of people didn't know about shea butter. The Ghanaian people used to bring it here, but of course, when Johnson & Johnson found out about it, then now shea butter has everything in it. I mean, everything has shea butter in it. They market things, they're saying blueberries and avocados are superfood. And then quinoa, a lot of people didn't know about, and then all of a sudden everybody's eating quinoa. And then like callaloo in Trinidad, I mean, if you're not Caribbean, you may not know about that. So are there any kind of foods that you may enlighten us about, some of us that may not, be that in-depth in nutrition?
Well, here's my thought on superfoods. Every healthy food that grows from this, every food that grows from this earth is a superfood. It is not that one component that makes you that one food that makes you healthy. It's a combination of many. The thing with superfoods is that it's a marketing ploy. Because once we call it a superfood, then it becomes more expensive. That's the one thing, like I really enjoy goji berries, have been eating them for years, but once it got caught on, it went from $5 to $11. So I would say where you are, look for the local foods, do some research on local herbs in your community, and then find out what their benefits are. A lot of the mushrooms, find out if you have local mushrooms in your area that have beneficial properties, local foods, and then go from there. Because once we get into that term superfood, we're really getting into price. There are so many foods out there. Just continue to eat variety. That's what's going to give us the balance and the health that we need, the variety of foods.
Excellent. And are there, maybe you could talk about the smoothie that you made as an example of the balance that you were trying to show at the end of your video, and why you chose that recipe to kind of deal with the stress and all the different things that we're talking about.
Sure. When your juices will get to your system a lot faster. You know, your food has to go through a process of digestion. And I chose that one because beets are very high in folic acid. And a lot of people have issues with beets. And so I don't know if it's my mission, but to just get people to eat those foods. Beets are very good for you. And then when you add them with the strawberries and the greens, you always add something green to your juice or smoothie or what have you, then you're getting that burst of energy and you're getting those nutrients in you quickly. Now, I wouldn't say that your whole diet would be juicing, because we have to have a balance. But juicing your greens and juicing those vegetables and then making those smoothies. The reason I chose that, like I said, is because the beets, like I said, are very high in folic acid. But it's to get people to see that those very things that we see as, I don't really like that, not so good food, is really good for us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think
Hello?
Yes, go right ahead.
Yes, I'm concerned about what's best for us, cooking foods or eating them raw, or some maybe just steamed. Well, what's best for nutritional value?
Well, there's some foods that need to be broken down. When you do leafy greens, I never cook leafy greens more than 5 minutes, because you want to maintain that nutritional value. You may have to steam it or heat it to get the essence out, but you don't want to overcook it. If your leafy greens turn gray or pale, then they're basically waste. There's no nutrients in them. So you want to make sure you're cooking at a minimum. Have a high level of raw foods in your diet. I wouldn't suggest every single meal be a cooked meal. Always have something raw, because you want to have that balance.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent questions, you all. We appreciate the questions. This is why we have this portion of the summit, because it really allows folks to ask and to hear, and it even allows our presenters to hear about things that they can take into their presentations and put and add into next time. So we definitely appreciate the questions. We have a couple more minutes. It's 6:26 where you all are, so we got a couple more minutes for some more, maybe one or two more questions. And so we'll keep the floor open for that.
Well, at this time, can you talk about the whole soybean thing?
I didn't hear.
Can you ask your question again, sister? We couldn't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I was asking about soybeans, how we've gotten new information, or maybe y'all always knew, but they're saying soybeans affect testosterone in boys, or that tofu or soybeans may not be good to eat anymore. And can you talk about that information?
Sure. First, if you're eating soy or tofu or any of those products, it should be non-GMO. So if it's genetically modified, you want to avoid it anyway because there's not enough research on those items. There has been, that goes back and forth. Soy is good for you, soy is not good for you. Soy is good for you, it's not good for you. I would say, again, it's not something that you would eat every single day. I can speak for my family. My children were raised vegetarians. My son is now 29 years old, and they were raised on soy, but it was organic. They were raised on tofu, of course, organic, but it wasn't something that they did every day. Soy it's beneficial, like anything. If you do too much of anything, it's harmful. And then, you know, we have to make sure we're seeing where that information is coming from. Is it coming from an industry that soy is kind of a potential problem with, or seen as an opponent? So we have to be careful with that. But I would say, basically, from my perspective, soy, non-genetically modified organic soy, is not bad in low doses.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. This is going to conclude our Q&A session for this time. And I want to just close with allowing you to provide your contact information. We really, really appreciate your time. We'll put it into the chat so that other people can grab it.
Yes, I can be reached via email at forladieslikeus@gmail.com. My phone number is 703-509-6570. I'm also on Facebook at 4 Ladies Like Us, and I'm also on Instagram at 4 Ladies Like Us.
Excellent. And that's 703-506-6570.
509-6570.
Okay. 703-509-6570.
Yes.
All right. Excellent. Give thanks for you and your presentation. This has been wonderful. Just a lot of information and knowledge. We got people joining in the midst of the conversation, and it's great to see dialogue happening. And we appreciate your time and all of the knowledge that you bring to this.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. We encourage folks to go watch more videos and join us tomorrow. We are going to be here again with more presenters and our next summit. And for you, Sister Lisa, we invite you to our next year's summit, where we will be in Atlanta and trying to do this format and also do some in-person work as well, and taking people. So maybe a juicing demonstration.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, this is great. And thank you, everybody. I am actually going to get off the call now and hand it over to the next presenter, or I should say the next presenter and the next facilitator. So it's been great. And you all can stay on. You might get kicked off. If you get kicked off, please come back and join us. Just go back to the same link and join us shortly, just a few seconds after. All right. Goodbye, everybody.